Our stories. We have plenty of them when we're heartbroken, don't we? When we're heartbroken, it is the best catalyst for spiritual growth because it cuts so deep and it hits those baby wounds that you've had forever. And they're just so intense. And it's also extra difficult because we've most recently lost the person in which we would love to indulge with, the person that we would love to share all of these new findings with, our person that's arguably the closest to us, which is our partner. Or maybe you're trying to heal through a heartbreak of losing a loved one, whether it was a platonic friend or somebody in your family. Heartbreak doesn't discriminate, but it's really hard because it feels a lot like grief. So we go into our stories, and our stories ground us. They comfort us in a sick way. Yes, even that story that tells you that you're garbage because it's familiar. When we are in uncharted territory like heartbreak, we cling to things that are familiar because we're so uncomfortable and our brain loves certainty. So we come back to these stories and they bring us some sense of familiarity and comfort in all of our discomfort, and we replay them in our heads. And you'll notice that throughout your life, these stories may be the same. Like maybe your story is I'm worthless or who could love me, whatever they are. What's also important to remember is that your stories help you feel connected to the person at which you are missing, the person you are grieving. Your anger is very much a tether. And that's why sometimes it feels really scary to let go of the anger, is because that anger makes us feel close to the person in a sense when they're apart from us. Because being apart from them is very painful. And it's probably not something that you necessarily wanted to do, because if you did, you may not be suffering as much. So understanding that though these stories are not productive for us, they are helping us in some sense. But that doesn't mean that they're allowed to stay. You are not your stories. You are who you decide you want to be. No one's going to tell you who you are, but I'm going to remind you that you are perfect, whole, and complete the way that you are. Some things are just not meant to work out. You are not a bad person for the things that you have done. You are not supposed to be perfect. So maybe there were things that you're not proud of doing, but let go of the guilt because you are not meant to be perfect. Flawless, I should say. You are perfect as the way you are. Let go of these stories in your own time. But first, let's recognize when they start to come up and let's start to watch them and question what it is that we're getting from them. We just want to observe at this point, starting to notice all of the things that we tell ourselves to convince ourselves that we're garbage. When we relay stories in our head, it can be uncontrollable and just something that cycles through our heads in a split second. But what I want to challenge us all to do is to just set the intention now that we are going to watch for when these stories begin to pop up. Sit in the chair in the theater and watch these stories unfold on a stage in front of us. We're not in the story. We're not dancing with it. We are sitting back and we are observing it from a distance. So begin to watch these stories and begin to ask yourself what you're getting out of them. And secondary, where do these come from? Are they even yours? I would bet they aren't.